I watched an interview yesterday of the original Manjumel boys, and I think this was done in the same year that they were rescued. And such a beautiful interview. I'll leave the link below, and you all can watch it. And there was one thing that Subhash said um, in while he was stuck in the pit in Guna Caves, which I found very interesting, and which they never showed that in the movie. So he said that there were two names he called out to when he was stuck. The first was his mom, and even though he, is an atheist, he doesn't believe in God. The second person he called out to was God, and that interview really acknowledged the presence of God and the hand of God in this rescue mission, and I found it very, very very humbling. And I'm here right in Kodaikanal. This is our last day over here. I'm here with my family on a small trip. And it so happened that we went to Guna Caves. We had initially not planned to go because my son was very scared of going to Guna Caves after watching Manjumel Boys. And I said, fine, it's fine. We don't need to go. But somehow one thing led to another, and we ended up going there. And I was just awestruck by two things. One was the majesty of God's creation all around, and even though it was a bit scary there, it was still majestic to see the trees and the roots and just the whole nature itself. The second thing that made me think of him was just thinking of God's mercy and grace. Not only on those on us, the people who are there right now as tourists walking safely, but even on this one person who was rescued. Subhash happens to be just the only person out of 16 people who were rescued after falling into this pit that popularly is called the Devil's Kitchen. So I see God's grace there, and it made me think of the other 15 who weren't rescued, and more so their family members who would be grieving, for them, Guna Caves is forever become a mortuary or a cemetery of sorts. And I was thinking, I'm sure they must have had the question, and if they're watching the movie and going there, I'm sure they must have had the question of why was only this one person rescued? Why not everybody else, right? So here is where I am reminded that in some of our lives, sometimes great suffering happens in the lives of our loved ones, so that we get an opportunity to see God's hand, so that we get an opportunity to come closer to Him, to understand that this God, this mighty creator of this universe, shows mercy to whom He shows mercy, and shows compassion to whom He shows compassion. And I have a choice whether I want to acknowledge His presence and follow Him or reject Him. And so just thinking of their family members reminded me of a time that I went through about last year, the same time. Something really horrific happened to a dear family member, and that drew me into a very similar pit, metaphorically a pit like Subhash was in, but I was in an emotional and spiritual pit. I was in a very dark place. I was questioning so many things of why, and why did it happen to me as someone who's now put their faith in God and in Christ, and why did that happen? And there was one song that came to me during this time that really spoke to me of what God did for me and God is doing for so many of us who have to go through tragedy, who have to endure such suffering in their life. And so that is the song that I want to share with you in this video. But before that, today in my time with the Lord, I was just reading through Psalms. I love when I get opportunities like this when I'm out in nature. I like to read Psalms that remind me of God's might and God's awesomeness. So today I was just looking at which other Psalm to read, and I came across Psalm 30, and verse 3 fits so aptly for what can only be described as a miracle in this story of the Manjumel boys rescue mission, the rescue of Subhash, the bravery that Sijo showed, and how all of this is orchestrated by the supernatural power of God. And so this is verse 3. It goes like this. You, Lord, brought me from the realm of dead. You spared me from going down to the pit. And verse 4 says, sing the praises of the Lord, you, his faithful people. Praise his holy name. So beautiful, right? And so I just hope that if you are somebody who is in this pit right now, know that there is a God who is going to come and rescue you. The only thing that you need to do is just call out to him. And if you are somebody who had to see someone else going through this, or you weren't rescued, something really terrible happened to you, I just want to remind you that God is still going to come and rescue you. And whatever happened or whatever you had to experience is going to just turn out into something so beautiful that you couldn't imagine. So he is working all things for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. So this is the chorus part of, you can hear the buses going, I'm just going to sing anyways. The chorus part of Lauren Diegel's beautiful, beautiful song called Rescue. It fits perfectly to this situation and, my story as well as, Subhash's story and so many of our stories. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of your hardest